Hello and welcome to Once Upon a Page. Once again, we are hanging out with somebody else. We are hanging out today with author Deborah Sprinkle. Do you go by Deborah or Debbie?
Debbie.
Debbie. So Debbie is our new friend. She is a fellow Scrivenings Press author, and she is also a retired chemistry teacher. So, yeah, if you have nightmares about chemistry in high school, this is your. I passed chemistry, so I'm good.
Good. Glad to hear it, Amy.
Yeah. Um, so her chemistry background actually goes into her books, and her first book just came. Did it just came out?
The first one came out in May of last year.
Okay, so she has one out called Deadly Guardian, and then she has another one that's just about to come out called Death of an Imposter, which is a really cool title. And she also evidently wrote a nonfiction book about the faith of America's presidents, and unfortunately it's not in print right now, which is bad because that would be such a really good book for my husband for Christmas. So if you change your mind about that, let me know, because
I might have a copy around, so I can send it your way.
So she is a Memphis resident, and she is going to be chatting with us. We're going to ask her all sorts of interesting questions. Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay.
First, and this is not my real question.
Uh-oh.
You've been doing that though. I do. See, we're doing this, and then it's like, oh, I really need to ask this. So your two books, are they part of a series or are they standalone?
They're part of a series, but they are standalone. You could read them alone, but they are part of a series. But the series is with the setting.
Okay.
So it's not with the people in the book. Well, the characters do carry through, but in the first book, I have certain characters that are the main characters, and then in the second book, I take a couple characters from the first book and bring them into the second book and use them. And in the third book, which is coming out in 2021.
Okay, yay.
And that one will be, again, use some other characters. So
nice.
I love it when we get to revisit people that we've met before.
Yes.
So my real question for you, are there any books or authors who have inspired you to write in your chosen genre?
Well, I'm an avid reader, but when I started reading, it was Agatha Christie, and she's my favorite. So I tend to like British authors.
I do too.
I just read so many and watch all the British ones on television, all the series. So I like Agatha Christie. I love Elizabeth George. I don't know if you've read any of hers, but they are just so well written, and her characters are so well developed. And so I love reading hers. That she's Inspector Lindley. That's the series that she writes. And Anne Cleves. Now, she writes the Vera series and also Shetland, which is, those two are on, and they're all PBS, type series, but are BBC. But I just really enjoy those. So I think those are the ones that that really inspire me the most, because they're so well written.
Nice.
Awesome.
All right, my turn.
Hi, Erin.
Hi. What is something you need to be able to write?
Something I need? Well, I think I need this. Well, okay. When I think of that question, I think of writers, all writers, and especially Christian writers, since that's the area that we're involved in. And the first thing that comes to mind, of course, is our faith. I think we really need to have a grounding in our faith. And because without that, I don't think we would have the inspiration that we have, or that drive, or even be able to do what we do. And I also, then the second thing I think is that that's not enough. Faith and talent are not enough. I think then you also have to learn your craft. And by going either to conferences and going to classes, and all of these things actually, reading books, just, doing as much as you can, talking to other authors, all kinds of things, critique classes, being with your critique groups, things like that. I belong to Word Weavers, a Word Weavers online group, and it's just become invaluable to me. And so I think those things are the things that I really need those things in order to write.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Okay, so my first question actually sort of goes along with Heather's question, and it is, if you could meet an author, dead or alive,
Mhm.
of your choice, who would it be, and what would you ask them?
Oh gosh. um, I guess it would have to be Agatha Christie. It would have to be. And what would I ask her? Oh
Yeah,
my
what would
gosh.
you ask?
I would ask her, first of all, I'd ask her, how did she ever come up with so many ideas? She just came up with so many different ways of killing people. and of because it was all supposed to take place in these little villages,
Right.
and people were just, I mean, it was just astounding to me. And she just kept coming up with all these different stories, and really they were about human nature too. And so, I mean, she just was, I think her brain was just amazing. She had the kind of brain that I would just love to have, that kind of a thought process.
Now, my last question for you stems from a conversation we were having earlier about one of our previous videos that you had watched.
Oh, yeah.
And so my question is, what is a word or phrase that you love, but that isn't used very often? And would you put it in one of your books?
Oh, well, the one that I told you was, let me think what it was. That's why I had to. Okay, I'm gonna have to. Let me think. It was either whatchamacallit or thingamajiggy. It was thingamajiggy. It was thingamajiggy. This is the one I told you, and I would love to put it in one of my books. And I've tried putting something like that in one of my books, and I've had it edited out because the editor was like, people aren't going to know what that is. But thingamajiggy to me,
Everybody knows what the thingamajiggy
I
is.
know. Now, see, thingamajiggy to me is, I mean, I use that word all the time, especially as I've gotten older, because I cannot remember the names of things. So I'm liable to use it today as we're doing this interview, and you'll just have to understand what I'm talking about. But that's what I do. I use thingamajiggy. And my poor husband has had to fill in for me many times. So this is just a word that I love. I love thingamajiggy and whatchamacallit. And those are two words that I just use a lot. So those are two of my favorites.
Awesome.
But I loved that YouTube that you did about the words. I just laughed and I just was going, yes, yes. And it was just wonderful. It was a wonderful YouTube. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Okay, for my second question, What can readers expect when they pick up one of your books?
Well, I'll tell you what my husband said. My husband said they can expect a convoluted story with lots of action. So I wasn't sure that was a compliment, but I'm hoping it was. I do tend to my stories do tend to get convoluted, but hopefully I unravel them and show you everything, explain everything at the end. Because I love a story that keeps me guessing to the very end. So I try to do that. And I'm still haven't mastered it completely, but I'm trying very hard to do that. So I'm told that in my first book that many people said, "Oh, I didn't realize who did it until the very end." So that was a compliment to me, very much.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
So I'm hoping that's what I'm striving for. But you have to, in order to do that, they have to get a little convoluted. So that's what they can expect. They can also expect that at least the main character will be a person who relies on their faith for their strength. And it's not that they're perfect. They're certainly far from perfect, but they do rely on their faith for their strength. And there's usually a secondary story that's going on there that has to be followed and tied up to at the end. So
Okay, last question. You ready?
I hope.
Okay, so if you had a whole month and unlimited funds, where would you go to write?
I have thought about this so much. I've even Googled places because
nice.
because I don't have unlimited funds, but there are beach people and there are mountain people. You can kind of divide people into that category in a way, mostly. I'm a mountain person. I love mountains. Now I do like water, so I'd like to be on a mountain lake.
Yes.
So what I would like to do is be in the mountains in a log cabin, but now this log cabin would be really nice, one of those nice log cabins,
Yes.
And it would have a screened-in porch, and it would be either on a stream or a lake. It would have to be on a body of water, some kind of water, and then the only other thing I'd have to have, so I'd have to have lots of money, is I'd have to have somebody in there to keep house and cook for me, because I'm not going to do that while I'm writing. Because
that sounds like heaven.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yes.
So, that to me would be an absolute, that would be the place where I could, of course, it'd have to be at a time of year when you could be in the mountains on the lake,
right,
and enjoy it, and not be covered in snow. So,
or mosquitoes.
Or mosquitoes, exactly. So it's that would have to be the other thing. But I dream of that. I dream of that. And I know there are writers that do those things, they do that. And I think, so, oh well.
So we'll find Debbie out in the mountains by a lake in fall, because then there's no snow and there's no mosquitoes.
Yes.
And if you want to be her cook for this adventure in her house, just let her know.
Yeah, really.
I think we all need that right now. If you'd like to be any of our cook and housekeeper, just give us a call. We're good for that.
Yeah, fair.
You can invest your time in helping our dreams come true. Well, we would like to thank you for joining us today. And for all our viewers out there, be sure to read Deadly Guardian. That one is out now. And go ahead and get it now and get it read in the next month, because in December, Death of an Imposter is coming out. And then you'll have plenty of time to finish it and revisit the whole series again before Silence Can Be Deadly comes out in November 2021. So be sure and check all of those out. And be sure to keep checking out our videos. Subscribe, like, share them. We're trying to get, what do we say, 100 subscribers by the new year. So help us out with that. And we will see you next time. Bye.
And thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us.